Hi students, welcome to HSC Biology and Module 7, Infectious Disease. This is video number 26 and we're going to look very quickly at malaria. I do worry when I say quickly because sometimes the quick ones end up being 12 or 15 minutes, but this one is really a case study. So what you need to do is to be able to interpret data relating to the incidence and prevalence of infectious disease in populations. And two examples, malaria or dengue fever in Southeast Asia. So I'm going to quickly focus on malaria. I think there's a fair bit of information on both of these, so it doesn't really matter which one you have a look at. But just to give you a bit of an idea of some of the things that you might include in case study, we put them into this video. So describe the disease, discuss incidence and prevalence, and evaluate some of the strategies designed to reduce the incidence. So the first thing you want to do is a bit of a context setter, and I'm not going to go through all of the points that are in here, but you do want to present a bit of a brief history, go through some of the key findings. So we have talked about things like antibiotics, antivirals, the types of chemicals that can be used as part of chemotherapy, and of course malaria is caused by a plasmodium, which is a protozoan, and so we needed particular types of chemicals that would be able to resist and or destroy the particular plasmodium that causes malaria. Of course, there has to be a point where you know what you're trying to kill, and so initially knowing that certain types of chemicals may assist with a particular disease doesn't necessarily give you any clues about the cause of that disease. And so we had to find out some information about it. We had to be aware of the fact that this particular disease had a vector, and in this case it's mosquitoes, so it gave us another avenue to try and reduce the incidence. But we did find that it was actually caused by a protozoan. So as we go through the history, we find a little bit more information about the life cycle, understand how the pathogen reproduces, how it is transmitted from one particular host to another, the vector that is part of the transmission system as it moves from one host to another, and some of the ways that we've been able to look at one of the reasons why this disease has persisted. And certainly there's some interesting parallels with the incidence of malaria and the incidence of sickle cell anemia that suggests some sort of a selective evolution has been going on with those two. There has been a lot of developments, and there may well be some more, but your history doesn't want to take too long because what you're focusing on here is the incidence and prevalence in Southeast Asia and how that has maybe changed over time and what we've been doing about it. So because of that, you want to try and identify some of these key points here. So first of all, malaria, because you can see from the previous slide, there's a lot of history around our understanding of malaria as a disease. And in fact, in this particular Southeast Asian region, the numbers had become negligible in the late 50s, 1950s. So a very small number of cases and no deaths in the area. So this is one of the, I guess, the arguments around just because the disease incidence is now very, very low doesn't mean it's been completely eradicated. What we found, perhaps as a result of movement of people, the increase in certainly vacationers, people moving around the globe more easily, the availability of increased numbers of flights, that the malaria numbers actually surged in many of these Southeast Asian countries before they dropped again in the 1990s. Particular targets were placed, and in fact have still been placed, on the eradication of malaria from many of these countries. But the numbers are certainly a lot worse even today than they were back in the late 1950s. So a study between 2000 and 2011, 5 of the 10 malaria endemic countries decreased their incidence by greater than or equal to 75%. So a very significant decrease as a result of the campaigns that were in place to try and deal with this. The fact that we do have a treatment now, a vaccine that we can use to try and immunize the population and build their resistance against the Plasmodium is a really, really important step there. From 2009, we had a total of 2.7 million cases in Southeast Asia. And then the most recent report that I could find was from 2018. So it was up on 2019, but it was basically looking at 2018 figures. There, they had estimated 8 million cases, over 11,000 deaths, but 70% less than that they had 8 years earlier from the 2010 figures. So this is a region that in terms of malaria is in decline. Certainly the incidence of malaria is in decline. Some quite significant drops in some of those values. And so what you want to do when you're looking at it is seeing if you're seeing stability, increases or decreases in incidence. You want to see if you can put some numbers on that, because that sort of data always firms up your arguments. You want to see when it talks about eradication campaigns, what sort of things are actually being done, particularly if an organisation like the World Health Organization, which is one of the premier ones around the globe, gets involved. You want to know what sort of things. Is it money they're providing? Is it education? Is it vaccines? Is it better medical care, hygiene, sanitation? Any of these things that we've looked at before, what are some of the key factors that have contributed to this? So I'm going to leave this here because I think it's an important case study for you to do. You can do malaria and expand on some of the ideas you've seen in this video, or you can also look at dengue fever, which is an interesting one too. Either way, good luck and thanks for watching.